When I had the opportunity to work for General Schwarzkopf in the first war with Iraq, we were on a chessboard where we saw everything. The Iraqis could see only their own pieces. We didn't need 500,000 troops, including our French allies and others there. We needed much smaller numbers to achieve the mission because we knew more and we controlled. The Greek root word for cyber is kybernan, which means to control or to govern. And the whole point here is that we move into an era where knowing more will allow us to achieve all of our aims with far less material resources. So yes, the logical conclusion of this in my book, Worst Enemy, is that we should be having smaller and smaller active military forces, not getting rid of them, but having them smaller, because the real story of this period of technological change is that the small group is more powerful than ever. Now, Americans found this out on 9/11 when just 19 attackers created world disruption with their actions. It seems to me that the large number of forces we sent to Iraq only created greater problems for ourselves, and when things got better over there, it was not because of the surge of even more troops, it was because we created the small network. We created a physical network of small outposts in Anbar province and connected it together with a social network. About 8 or 9 years ago, I created a great stir in the American defense circle by saying we needed to make the very people who were fighting against us part of our network against al-Qaeda. And 80,000 Iraqis in Anbar province and elsewhere joined up with us in this network. And we took in Iraq, where 100 innocent people a day were being murdered, and brought that number down nearly to 0 by the end of 2007 and into 2008. The idea is that a smaller, smarter force will be able to attack the larger and clumsier force from all directions simultaneously and overload its ability to defend itself. And this is something we see occasionally in history. We see a lot of it in the natural world. And so this concept of the swarm, I think, is how the network fights. Certainly if one takes this out of the military realm and thinks about the social revolutions of the Arab Spring, this is all about swarms of people coming from all over these societies against the central governments and giving a pretty good account of themselves. They don't win in every case, but they've achieved very powerful results. Well, I would move toward a much smaller active force immediately. I would engage in interventions that look more like Libya than like the invasion of Iraq. A little bit of information made a very big difference. I would remember the Reagan doctrine, which was to help other peoples to free themselves. So very, very light amounts of American involvement. And we're seeing this now. We sent only 100 soldiers to go fight the Lord's Resistance Army with locals in Uganda, in the heart of Africa. Libya was a very small intervention. If something happens in Syria, it will be similarly small in nature. So we're moving in that direction. The difference I would make if I were Secretary of Defense today is I would move faster, because the risk is we are spending too much on a military that's too large at a time when we can't afford it. Our military spending should have in mind the overall economic health of the country. And the ideas I've been advancing for 20 years are ones that will give us more security, more effectiveness in war at far lower cost. This is something that, whether you are on the right or the left of the political spectrum, should be of some appeal to you.